So I want to speak to the point of being king. You have a lot of men who claim themselves to be kings. I think y'all got a misinterpretation of what a king is. A king is not somebody who's a tyrant. Well, then again, I can't say that because you have had kings who were tyrants. So let me give you the proper definition of what a king should be. A king is a servant. A king is somebody who's over top of the people because they may be able to think in a way that they can't, which means you got to strategize, you got to organize, but you're not organizing and strategizing for the sake of yourself. You're doing that for the sake of your people. So if you call yourself a king and you're not helping to uplift everybody in society, because if you a king, that means you over top of everybody in that society. You're not just a king of these people on the left or these people on the right. You're the king of the whole society. So you have to play fair with everybody in that society, whether you like it or not. So you can't be biased. You can't be picking and choosing who you decide to deal with or who you decide to provide help for. You have to be universal. You have to spread love and wealth to everybody. Make sure everybody's okay. So a lot of people at times, they think I'm being arrogant whenever they hear my name, King Dawood. They be like, I'm not calling him king. That's arrogant. But if you go back and you look at my track record, you'll see you don't even have to take my story directly from my mouth. Just go to prison and ask men about me, or go to the neighborhoods where I live. If I ever acquired any type of wealth, I broke it all the way down. I might have got the smallest portion of the wealth or ended up with nothing because I try to make sure everybody else is all right. And the reason why I did that is because I know when people are okay and they got food and they got clothes and they all right, they're not really looking to reap havoc or destroy structures. So it's a peace created where all these people are at peace because they're in harmony with each other. Everybody's equal. They all coming up on the same level versus I'm up, they down. The people at the bottom want to knock the floor out so that the people at top can fall. So it's always chaos. It's always plotting and scheming. So that go back for many of these people who run these 500 companies, these Fortune 500 companies, or even people who run businesses at all. You know, you have some people, and I've seen this, I've witnessed this, especially since coming home. People, they only want to see their people come up. They only want to see the people who they cool with. They try to put everybody around them in their inner circle at the top and everybody else at the bottom. Like they try to maintain a structure in which they not a king for all people. They only a king for their people. Or they tyrants with everybody else, but they just with only certain people if they like you or not, which is un-Islamic. So just to quote an example, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If y'all don't know about the Prophet Muhammad, I advise you to study him. There's plenty of books on him. You have people who was Muslim and non-Muslim who spoke about him. You had people who was Christian scholars spoke about him. So just investigate who he is for yourself. But he was speaking about the justice of the people who are in charge. Like it's not their job to like gather up a bunch of wealth for themselves. And he's a perfect example of that. One of his companions was like, he went into his house and he seen him sleeping on the floor and he was sleeping on a mat and it was wore out. It was like made out of date palm. So he was asking him, he almost cried. The companion was like, why are you sleeping like this? We just conquered Persia and the people over there, man, they got gold beards and all this stuff. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam got mad at him. He said, I didn't come to gain wealth from this life. He said, I'm looking for something beyond this, which was paradise. So some people think that this is the only station. Like they're gonna come here, so they gotta gather up all this stuff, or they're gonna end up being cheated. So they push everybody to the side and get everything for themselves and their people and screw everybody else, which is unjust. because especially for those who claim to follow the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and be Muslim, and they structure their company or they structure their life in a way where only their people is all right and everybody else is doing bad, then shame on you. You going against the Quran. Shame on you. You going against the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whom you say you trying to be like. He wasn't like this at all. He never tried to enrich himself and let everybody else stay poor. He gave the people before he gave to himself. He said, don't go to sleep with food in your house knowing your neighbor is hungry. I've had Muslims during Ramadan have meals and never invite me to even come eat a morsel of their food. I was like, what type of Islam is this? But it just show you people claim to be something that they not. Like with this king thing, they say they kings, but they don't act like kings. They act like tyrants. They act like animals. And then you have some of these same people, they be preaching to the greater good. They talk about uplifting society. They talk about trying to make equal rights for everybody. But then when you look at their personal life, they not being just with nobody who they could actively affect a better change for. They're not being just. They treating these people unjust. They're not making sure everybody's all right. They only making sure a certain few is all right. So before you call yourself a king, a president, a CEO, a father, a brother, a friend, make sure you playing that position to the fullest. Go back to the basics and see if you fully playing your position as a son, as a father, as a husband, as a mentor. If you ain't doing none of that, you have no right to tell the people in society that they need to do that. You have no right. It's a hadith about a man who was in the hellfire. He was running around in a circle. The people seen him there. They stopped and questioned him. They say, such and such, you advised us to do so much good. How did you end up here? And he said, I forgot to practice it for myself. So that's a nasiha, which is sincere advice for you people who preach all this stuff and try to push everybody else to do all this stuff, and you're not doing it yourself. You might end up in the fire running around in a circle because you forgot to practice this stuff for yourself. So before you advise somebody to stand up for injustice, in the Quran, it says stand out against injustice, even if it's against yourself. So start there first. Start making sure you're standing out against injustice in whatever way it is. Make sure you right. Make sure your character right before you try to convince somebody else to get themselves together. Instead of trying to break people down, try to encourage them to get up. If somebody has the potential to be great, try to help them be great. I don't care if somebody else has way more potential than me. I'm gonna give them everything they need to succeed, because guess what? We in the same society together. If he doing all right, I may fall up on hard times and he may help me. Or somebody else, he may help somebody else. But if everybody around me is all right, I don't have to worry about nobody trying to rob me, nobody trying to steal from me or cheat me. And it helps me achieve my ultimate goal. Allah say have a balance. So how can you have a balance when the top is super heavy, it's nothing really in the middle, and it's absolutely nothing on the bottom? That's where you got the rich, the middle class, and the poor. That's not a balance. That's uneven. So everything heavy is at the top, it's going to come crashing down eventually. And that's just nasiha, or sincere advice to all of these people who think they kings, these false kings, these people who think they men. If Allah favored you, if God favored you and put you in a position where you're able to have an impact on the lives of others, be careful. Because once again, it's saying in the Quran, we have charged you with authority. It's a charge. Like, you being tested with that position to see what you do. Not, oh, you was blessed to be in that position. Nah, that's a burden. That's a burden. What you gonna do with that money? What you gonna do with that power? What you gonna do with that influence? How are you helping anybody do anything beneficial? So be mindful. Be mindful the next time you think it's cool to see somebody at the gas station and you're gonna ride by them when you got a pocket full of money, or your bank account got millions and hundreds of thousands, and this guy ain't even got a penny in his pocket, and you ain't gonna toss him a quarter or a dime. Before you jump on Facebook and start preaching that people need to be just to others, and you not just to nobody around you except for just your few selective people, then no, 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 no. You have no right to speak on justice because you're not being just. You're not being fair. And Allah is going to hold you accountable for everything you say and everything you do. So if you willing to accept the burden to come with that, keep playing that game. Keep playing that game. You ain't got to worry about nobody on earth. It's somebody bigger than you who will break you down the same way he built you up. And that's what a lot of these false kings don't realize. The same way he put you up, he'll break you down. And he may allow people around you to do it for him. So be careful. Be very careful, because he see all your mistakes. And my uncle told me this. He said, people always see us better than we see ourselves. When you think you got it all figured out, trust and believe, it's people around you who can see that you're making a bunch of mistakes. And you may be digging a hole, and the hole you digging may be your own grave. So interpret that however you may. But understand one thing. You will be held accountable for what you say and what you do. And worse than a disbeliever is a one who is a hypocrite. Because the disbeliever, he flat out tells you, I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that, I'm not with it. The hypocrite, he pretends as if he's a part of something, but the whole time he's not. He pretends as if he believes in something, but the whole time he don't. Watch the character of the people. Last thing I'm gonna give you, then I'm gonna go. I'm talking for about 12 minutes. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. So pay attention to the people who hang with the people who profess to be somebody. If a bunch of nobodies around this somebody, he's nobody as well. He just haven't figured it out yet.